When Laila Ali unlocked her father's hidden safe, she expected memorabilia, but the first line of a letter shattered her world. Would this letter reveal a truth so profound that it could redefine her family's legacy forever? The comforting scent of aged wood surrounded her as she knelt before the ornate oak safe, a relic from her father Muhammad Ali's life filled with history and stories. She ran her fingers across the cool metal handle, her heart racing with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. Laila had spent countless hours remembering her father, training tirelessly to carry his legacy forward in the boxing ring and beyond. The safe had long been a mystery. Today, curiosity got the better of her. A part of her wanted to find something tangible, perhaps an old championship belt, a favorite robe, or photographs of moments that shaped her family. But the rusted lock clicked open with ease, revealing an unexpected treasure trove of letters wrapped in fragile yellowing paper. As she pulled the first letter free, her fingers trembled. The elegant script danced across the page, and the first line read, "I hope this finds you before the world spins your truth into lies." Laila froze, her breath hitching in her throat. She felt the ground beneath her shift, as if the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. Could this possibly concern her? A deeper, hidden narrative about her father's life, something long kept from her. The kitchen, where she'd grown up listening to tales of her father's roaring victories and deep convictions, felt distant and foreign now. Memories of family dinners, laughter and warmth suddenly felt overshadowed by an unshakable apprehension. Laila's mind raced as she thought of how many people revered her father, the champion, the activist. But what if this letter unveiled something darker, something that could tarnish that cherished image? If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. And there's something very important. Click the hype button. This helps a lot to deliver this content to more people. It's quick, but it makes all the difference. As she continued reading, tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. The letter spoke of regrets, of secrets kept from those he loved most, and fear of losing their respect. "I never wanted to burden you with the shadows of my past." Laila felt as though her heart shattered with every word. How could her father have felt this way? The realization that the man she idolized also had struggles, pain, and hidden truths made her feel small and lost. The clock chimed in the background, the rhythmic sound a painful reminder of time slipping away. With each tick, Laila grappled with mixed emotions. The letter hinted at an unresolved conflict with a figure from her father's past. Would this person emerge, threatening everything her family had built? Questions flooded her mind, but the air around her felt heavy with uncertainty. She needed answers. Prompted by an intoxicating blend of fear and courage, Laila set the letter aside and grabbed her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found the name she dreaded to call. Her father's closest friend, Bundini Brown. He had always been a part of their lives and a keeper of stories. Maybe he had the answers she desperately sought. She inhaled deeply before pressing the call button, her heartbeat echoing in her ears as she awaited his familiar voice. "Laila, my champion, what's on your mind?" Bundini's booming voice brought a sense of comfort, yet the weight of her revelations loomed large. "Bundini, I found something. Something about Dad." The cheerful tone in his voice faltered. "What did you find?" Laila hesitated, her heart racing again. "A letter. It talks about a secret and regrets." There was a brief silence before Bundini replied, "Laila, some things are best left in the past, but if it's bothering you, we need to talk." Her world began to tilt further into chaos, but deep within, she recognized a need for resolution. She couldn't navigate these turbulent waters alone. A sense of determination ignited inside her. Whatever the truth held, she was ready to uncover it. With every moment spent with that letter, Laila knew her family's narrative was on the verge of a transformation she never anticipated. As uncertainty loomed, she felt a fire within her start to awaken, a path of discovery unfolding step by step. Little did she know that the journey ahead would not only reshape her understanding of her father's legacy, but also her own identity. As Laila hung up the phone, she felt a storm brewing inside her chest. The letter remained unopened on the dining table, a weighty promise that could shake her family's foundation. She stared at it, the neatly folded paper like a ticking time bomb, waiting for the moment she would dare to unfold its secrets. Just then, a soft knock on her front door startled her from her thoughts. "Laila, it's me, Tasha," called her neighbor, a bubbly woman in her 30s. Laila hadn't even considered how she might have looked, her hair tousled and eyes red from the strain of her worries. Tasha, always one to burst in with cheer, walked in without waiting for a response. "I brought cookies. I thought you might need a pick-me-up." Laila managed a weak smile, grateful for the distraction. Tasha was more than just a neighbor. She was a friend who often dragged Laila out of her own mind. However, today her heart was tethered to that letter, and she wondered whether sharing would ease the burden or intensify it. "Thanks, Tasha. It's been a rough day." Tasha's brow furrowed, sensing a deeper unrest. "What's up? You seem off. More than usual, I mean." As Laila shifted from foot to foot, she contemplated confiding in Tasha. Their friendship had survived petty disputes and neighborly feuds, but this felt different, too personal. Still, the urge to unload was overwhelming. "I found something of my dad's," she started, then hesitated. Tasha's eyes widened. "Is it treasure? Memorabilia? I mean, he was a legend." "I found a letter," Laila said, the words tumbling out faster than she could think. "It talks about secrets and regrets." Tasha's expression shifted, now serious. "Secrets? That sounds intense." "What do you mean?" Taking a deep breath, Laila decided to divulge more. "He never shared this part of his life with us. I think it has to do with, well, a part of him that we don't know. I just feel so lost." "Have you read it yet?" Tasha asked, concern woven in her tone. "I haven't. I don't even know if I want to." Tasha placed a hand on Laila's shoulder, squeezing gently. "You won't know unless you do. It's like stepping into the ring. You have to face the fear to understand your strength." The analogy lingered in the air, and Laila felt the familiar grip of determination tightening around her heart. "You're right," she admitted. "I have to read it." As if summoned by her resolve, the letter beckoned her from the table. Tasha, noticing the shift in Laila's demeanor, moved over to join her. "Want to open it together?" Laila nodded, feeling the support of her friend buoying her spirits. They sat across from each other, the letter now an almost living entity between them, pulsating with secrets. "Okay, here goes," Laila said, unfolding the paper with trembling fingers. The cursive handwriting was bold, unmistakably her father's. She began to read aloud. "My dearest Laila, if you are reading this, it means I've left some things unsaid. I need you to know that my life was not just about glory. It was also about pain and choices I regret." With each word, Laila felt the room constrict around her. Tasha was silent, her eyes wide, fully absorbed in the weight of the moment. Laila's voice trembled as she continued. "There are things I've kept hidden, truths that might unsettle you. But more than anything, I hope you understand why I made certain choices." Tasha leaned in closer, her expression a mix of empathy and curiosity. Laila's heart raced, the tension thick in the air. The closer she got to understanding her father, the more conflicted she felt. "I can't believe this," Laila whispered, her voice cracking. "What was he keeping from us?" "I don't know, but you're going to find out," Tasha replied, her tone steady yet filled with concern. At that moment, Laila realized she was standing on the precipice of something big, not just about her father, but about herself. She needed to explore the depths of this revelation, and whether it brought ruin or redemption, she was ready to face it. Layla's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the letter, the weight of its implications crashing down on her. She felt Tasha's presence beside her, solid and reassuring, but the reality of what lay ahead suffocated her. The world outside her family home felt distant, yet she knew she had to confront whatever shadows loomed within. "Do you think he meant—" Layla trailed off, unable to voice the fears swirling in her mind. A part of her wanted to dismiss her father's words as mere reflections of a tired man, yet the other part could sense the storm brewing beneath the surface of his life. "I don't know," Tasha replied gently, "but you owe it to yourself to find out." Layla nodded, her mind racing. She remembered snippets from her childhood, family dinners filled with laughs, her father's animated stories of the boxing ring. Yet behind those memories loomed a figure veiled in secrecy, someone who had fought battles both recognized and unrecognized. Determined to uncover the truth, Layla decided to retrace her father's steps. Perhaps understanding his past choices would shed light on her own challenges. She inhaled deeply, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "Let's go to the gym," she suggested, surprising herself with her own resolve. "It's where he spent so much of his life." Tasha nodded in agreement, rising from her seat. "All right, maybe it'll help you reconnect, or at least get you some answers." Together, they drove to the iconic gym, the sun casting golden hues on the brick facade. As they approached, Layla felt a mix of nostalgia and anxiety. She hadn't stepped foot in here since before her father's passing. The echoes of punches hitting leather and trainers shouting motivational phrases filled her mind, reminding her of a life defined by resilience. Inside, the scent of sweat and determination enveloped her. Layla's gaze swept over the familiar landscape of heavy bags, boxing rings, and photos of her father with champions. Each corner held a fragment of her father's legacy, yet she felt disconnected as shadows of doubt crept in. What if she uncovered something she couldn't handle? "Let's start by talking to some of his old trainers," Tasha suggested, sensing Layla's apprehension. "They might know something." Reluctantly, Layla agreed. They approached an older man wrapped in a towel, wiping his forehead with a weathered hand. "Hey, Coach Marshall!" Layla called out, raising her voice above the sound of sparring. He turned, his face lighting up with recognition. "Layla, it's been a while. How are you doing?" His warm smile was a small comfort amid the agitation brewing within her. "I'm okay. I came to see if you could share some stories about my dad. Some of the memories you have," she replied, her voice wavering slightly. Coach Marshall's expression softened. "Of course, I'd be happy to. Your father had a knack for turning the ordinary into something extraordinary. But there were times he wasn't the man everyone saw. He faced demons." "Ah, what do you mean?" Layla pressed, feeling her heartbeat quicken. The coach hesitated, his gaze drifting to the floor. "He had a hard time coping with fame, Layla. There were moments he felt isolated, decisions he made that he regretted. Sometimes it haunted him, especially when it came to family." Layla felt the room spin. "Family?" she whispered. "What do you know?" "Just that he grappled with choices. Not everyone gets to see the battles behind the scenes," Coach Marshall said, his voice low. "He loved you more than anything, Layla, but there were things that weighed heavy on him." As he spoke, Layla's heart sank. The letter wasn't just a plea for understanding, it was a doorway to unresolved pain. She glanced at Tasha, who looked equally affected. "I need to know more," she muttered, determination igniting within her. "Let's reach out to others," Tasha encouraged. "We can talk to anyone who might help fill the gaps." With renewed purpose, Layla resolved to discover the depth of her father's struggles. The journey would not be easy, but the weight of unanswered questions pushed her forward. Each conversation would lead her closer to the truth, and perhaps to healing. Outside, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows. Layla felt the tendrils of her father's legacy entwining with her own, pulling her into a narrative that needed closure. There was no turning back now. She was ready to face the legacy of a man she thought she knew, but was only beginning to understand. With the sun dipping lower in the early evening sky, Layla felt a mix of determination and dread swirl through her. The conversation with Coach Marshall had left her thirsting for clarity. She had promised herself that she would uncover the layers of her father's life, and now she needed to act. She turned to Tasha, who stood beside her, still processing the weight of their revelation. "We need to find out how he coped with everything he faced. Let's start with anyone from his past who might shed some light." "Absolutely," Tasha replied. "I know a few people who might have insight. There's an old friend of his living in Brooklyn who was there during some rough patches." "It's worth a shot." Layla nodded, her mind racing with potential questions and doubts. What if he didn't want me to know? What if he regretted everything? "Then we'll honor that," Tasha assured her. "But sometimes we need to confront the past to move forward. Let's just reach out." They quickly gathered their phones and started reaching out to the contacts they presumed might help. Tasha busily typed a message to the old friend, while Layla sat, contemplating the monumental task ahead. The weight of her father's legacy felt heavier with each passing moment. The very next day, they received a reply. The man not only agreed to meet, but seemed eager to share stories. Layla's heart raced with anticipation as they arranged to meet at a cafe in Brooklyn, a far cry from the quiet comfort of their own neighborhood in Detroit. As Layla and Tasha approached the small cafe tucked between two larger buildings, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, filling her with an unexpected sense of nostalgia. She had always associated warmth and light with her father. The cafe seemed to embody that spirit, the realization that she would soon hear stories about him from a friend who knew him intimately made her stomach churn with excitement and anxiety. They settled at a corner table and ordered coffees. Almost immediately, a man in his late 60s approached. His salt and pepper hair and wise eyes instantly reminded Layla of her father. "You must be Layla," he said, a smile breaking across his face. "I'm Sam, an old friend of your father's." "Thank you for meeting with us," Layla responded, her heart pounding. "I can't tell you how often I've thought about him," Sam began, settling into his chair. He was a complex man, full of life, but also grappling with his own demons. Layla leaned forward, hanging on to every word. "What do you mean?" "Well," Sam said, hesitating for a moment, "after he retired, there were days he didn't know what to do with himself. The fame became a burden. He often spoke of you and your siblings, the pressure to be perfect, the fear of letting you down." Tasha shot Layla a glance, encouraging her to push further. "What about the letter? Did he ever mention anything regarding it?" Sam's expression shifted, shadowing his features. "I know there were things he wrote that he never shared with anyone. He had a lot to say, but he felt most of it would only hurt his family." Layla's heart raced. "He was hurting." "Yes, deeply," Sam replied, looking Layla in the eyes. "He loved you fiercely, but he carried regret like a shadow." The words cut through Layla like a knife, and tears threatened to spill over. "Or what if I told you he wrote a letter to me, and I'm scared of what it holds?" Sam leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then I'd say you owe it to yourself and to him to find out the truth. Sometimes those shadows can't be banished until you face them." That resonated profoundly with Layla. Faced with the reality of her father's struggles, she felt a surge of courage and resolve. She might be terrified, but she needed to confront the truth and understand her father's legacy. "Thank you, Sam. This means more than you know," she said, her voice steadying. "I need to finish what he started." As they parted, Layla felt the weight of her father's legacy shifting. No longer an anchor pulling her down, but a guide urging her forward. The journey was far from over, but now she possessed the courage to face it head-on. With every step she took, she was not just uncovering her father's history, she was forging her own path, one of understanding, healing, and ultimately, acceptance. As Laila stood in her father's office, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words and memories, her heart thundered in her chest. She was on the brink of an emotional precipice, poised to delve deeper into the layers of a family legacy that had long been shrouded in mystery. The letter, the only key to unlock years of silence, felt almost like a living entity in the grasp of her hand, pulsing with the weight of unsaid truths. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the room, illuminating dust motes that danced in the fading light. Laila sensed that time was short, as if the world outside her father's sanctuary was urging her to act. She inhaled deeply, absorbing the mingled scents of aged wood and leather, the very essence of her father's presence echoing around her. With every fibre of her being, she could feel Sam's words lingering in her mind, a clarion call to confront her fears. She took a seat at her father's massive desk, the same one he had sat behind in countless interviews and meetings. With careful hands, Laila placed the letter before her, the envelope slightly weathered, but containing a bond that was unbreakable. While she was drawn to its promise of revelation, her mind raced with questions. Would it hold answers, or unleash more confusion? Would it shatter the memories of love she cherished, or build a bridge to understanding? In that charged silence, she fished out a pen and notebook from the drawer, a familiar tool of reflection that had always brought her solace during tumultuous times. Drawing in another deep breath, she felt a surge of determination. She needed to document her feelings, to transform this moment of dread into a proactive step toward healing. Laila jotted down her emotions, anxiety, fear, hope, and love, intertwining them like a tapestry of her being. After a few minutes of writing, she glanced at the clock. Time felt suspended, each tick amplifying her apprehension. Laila picked up the letter again, her fingers trembling slightly. "Okay, let's do this," she murmured to herself, steeling her resolve. But just as she was about to tear the envelope, the sound of raised voices broke through her concentration. The familiar voices belonged to neighbors, a couple known for their constant bickering. This evening, their arguments spilled into the quiet sanctuary of her father's office, the tumult of their relationship echoing the storm swirling inside her. "Do you ever listen to me?" the woman shouted, her voice sharp as glass. "I do listen. You're just too stubborn to see things my way," the man fired back. Laila winced, the intensity of the confrontation a stark reminder of unresolved conflicts. This was the type of chaos she had always tried to avoid. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was on the brink of uncovering her father's deepest secrets. Yet the loud arguments next door felt both trivial and profound at that moment. The interruptions pulled her back into her reality. Wasn't it similar to her own familial discord? Tension between her parents had often gone unaddressed, just as the neighbors were doing now. Perhaps, in a way, this very letter was a chance to break that cycle. With renewed clarity, Laila decided to embrace the chaos. She would confront her father's truth while knowing that the fallout wouldn't just be her burden. It was part of a shared family journey. She could sense that it was more than just a letter. It was an invitation to understand, to mend, and perhaps even to forgive. With conviction swelling within her, Laila finally tore open the envelope. The crisp sound of paper splitting seemed to resonate in the charged atmosphere, marking the moment of truth. She unfolded the letter, the delicate tremor in her hands replaced by an unyielding resolve. What lay ahead was uncertain, but Laila was ready to embrace it. The first line, stark against the softness of the paper, caught her breath. The words were profound, weaving a nexus between past and present. "My dearest Laila, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer there to protect you. Her heart sank as the implications of those words began to unfold, each line promising a revelation that would challenge everything she thought she knew. Layla's grip tightened on the letter as she absorbed those haunting first words. "My dearest Layla, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer there to protect you." They echoed in her mind, threatening to drown out the chaos of her neighbor's escalating argument outside. She could feel her heart racing, not just from surprise, but from the weight of what she was unraveling. What did it mean for her father to have crafted such a message? Did he foresee something unimaginable? She forced herself to breathe, pushing the noise out of her mind. In this fractured moment, she realized the letter wasn't merely a goodbye. It was a chance for her to connect with him in a way she had never considered. As she continued reading, each word revealed layers she never knew existed. He spoke of his love for her, but also of past mistakes. "I have chosen to bear my burdens alone," he wrote, "and I regret that you might feel the weight of my silence." Tears welled in her eyes. Layla's father had always been a source of strength, but the realization that he had chosen to keep secrets hurt deeply. What had he been protecting her from? And why did he feel the need to shoulder these struggles alone? The urgency of her emotions stirred a mixture of anger and profound sadness. She felt both the noble intent of a father and the heartbreak of a man too proud to seek help. Just outside, the argument between the neighbors escalated further. A door slammed and shouts filled the air, their conflict mirroring the turbulence she felt inside. Maybe this was her own wake-up call, a sign that she couldn't let hidden truths fester any longer. The thought of burying emotions, of living entwined in denial, was too familiar and uncomfortable. With renewed resolve, Layla replayed the letter in her mind. "You are strong, my daughter, but strength comes from vulnerability." The piece of paper had become a catalyst for her own introspection. Perhaps her father had wrestled with his demons, just as she had quietly endured her family's unresolved conflicts. Those neighbors yelling at one another had a lesson hidden in their chaos. Truth could bind or break a family, but silence would only deepen their wounds. Determined to confront her own challenges, Layla folded the letter carefully, treating it like a fragile artifact. She glanced around her father's study, a room filled with his trophies and accomplishments. Each item was a testament to his strength, yet they seemed less significant now. The real legacy her father intended to leave was not one of victories in the ring, but of authenticity and connection. As she moved to place the letter back in the safe, her phone buzzed with a text notification. It was her mother, asking if they could talk. The timing felt almost serendipitous. Perhaps this was the moment she'd needed to bridge the gap that had formed between them over the years. Perhaps her mother, too, needed to confront the lingering shadows of their past, a past that had shaped both Layla and her father. Layla took a moment, her mind racing through possibilities. What would she say? How could she articulate the weight of the words she had just read? But just as her father's letter had encouraged her to confront her fears, she understood that it was time to break the cycle of silence. With swift decision, she texted back, "Yes, let's meet. I have something important to discuss." No more postponing. The power of truth hung heavily in the air, and Layla felt more ready than ever to embrace it. As she stepped outside, the din of the neighbors faded for the briefest moment, replaced by an unexpected silence. In that stillness, she felt empowered. She would not walk away from the truth any longer. The conflicts that had plagued her family needed resolution, and she was set to initiate the process. The door to the next chapter of their lives was slowly creaking open, and she was ready to step through. Her father's legacy, embedded in her heart, was a call to action, a chance to carve an unbroken path forward. Layla sat in her favorite corner cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee swirling around her, much like the thoughts racing through her mind. Sitting across from her was her mother, a weathered woman with deep lines etched onto her face that mirrored the complexities of their shared history. The tension hung between them like the fog over the early morning cityscape, thick and heavy, but palpable. "Thanks for meeting me," Laila began, her voice trembling slightly. She glanced down at her own fingers, the letter from her father tucked securely in her handbag. "I found something of Dad's, a letter in a safe." The words spilled out, but she hesitated, unsure how to reveal its profound impact. Her mother's eyes narrowed, curiosity peaking. "What did it say?" Laila took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. This was the pivotal moment, the one where she would share the truth that had emerged from her father's words. "He wrote about the importance of facing our fears, of honesty and understanding. He mentioned you." Her mother's expression shifted, a blend of surprise and guardedness washing over her. "Me? What could he possibly say about me? About how the silence affected me, how we both carried burdens he wanted us to let go of." Laila felt the weight of her father's legacy pushing her forward, urging her to bridge the divide that had grown over the years. "It made me realize how much you both suffered. We need to talk about this, Mom." The cafe buzzed with chatter, but to them, the world had faded away. Laila felt a tightness in her throat as she met her mother's gaze. "I want to know your side. I can't keep living in the shadow of what happened. I don't want to lose you, too." Her mother's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, a mixture of regret and pain. "I didn't want you to see me in that light, Laila. I thought it was better to hide my struggles." "No more hiding." Layla's voice turned firm. "I want to understand. I want to heal. But I can't do it alone." After a long silence, her mother finally nodded, vulnerability crossing her features. "All right. But it's going to be difficult. I don't know if I can face everything." "We take it one step at a time, together," Laila reassured her, "just like Dad's journey." An unspoken pact formed between them, thicker than the tension that had existed before. Laila could sense a shift, the beginning of a new chapter. For the first time in years, hope flickered in her mother's eyes, a reflection of the love they both still carried beneath their grief and misunderstandings. As they finished their coffees, Laila felt an urgent need to preserve this moment. She fished her phone from her pocket, capturing a picture of her mother, the sunlight casting a warm glow around them. "We'll look back on this," she said, smiling through her own tears. "This is our fresh start." Later that evening, Laila returned home to see her neighborhood illuminated by the soft glow of street lamps. The melodic chirping of crickets filled the night air, a stark contrast to the chaos of her emotions. Each step felt lighter, as if the weight of the past was beginning to lift. She scrolled through her phone, a mix of excitement and nervous energy coursing through her. She felt almost giddy, knowing she had taken the first step toward mending her family ties. Her father's legacy wasn't just about boxing or fame. It was about resilience, family, and forgiveness. As she sat down with her phone beside her, she took a moment to reflect. The letter had been her catalyst, a reminder of the power of truth in healing. The conflicts with her mother had not just been about unresolved pain. They were threads woven into the fabric of love that needed disentangling. Laila understood now that the journey would take time. The road forward would involve many conversations, moments of vulnerability, and perhaps the occasional step back. But armed with her newfound courage, she was ready to explore this uncharted territory with her mother. The future looked different now, more promising than it had in years. In the quiet of her heart, she vowed to honor her father's memory, not just through boxing, but by fostering love and understanding within her family. Together, they would face their fears and redefine their legacy. So what did you think of this story? Leave your comments, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share with your friends, and don't forget to like. But most importantly, click the hype button. Seriously, This is crucial for the channel to grow and bring more amazing stories like this to you. It only takes a second, but it helps a lot. See you next time.